Alright, my fellow Synchron enjoyers, welcome back to another video. So this time we're going to look at some combos that you can do with the Adventure Synchron list I posted the other day. And we're going over what the general idea of the Endboard is, the different ways to achieve it, and we're gonna talk about some hand traps in the process as well. So first of all, let's have a look at what the Endboard looks like, just to have a general idea of what we're going for. So you pass turn with a Crimson Dragon, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and Bestial Dispatter on board, and a triple hand rip, 2 with Omega and 1 with Trishula during the mid part of the combo. And also an Assault Synchron in the graveyard. And what this does is, it's our opponent's turn now. He goes draw phase, and in draw phase or standby phase, we're gonna use Crimson Dragon. We target this pattern and tag him out for the Majestic Star Dragon. And this allows us, with the help of Assault Synchron, to have a double Omni Negate. Because this guy, as I mentioned in the deck profile, he tributes himself for cost to activate that Omni Negate. And that means you can bring him back with Assault Synchron, and because this guy isn't once per turn, you can do it again. So we can negate something, like, I don't know, a board breaker or whatever, and then we can go Assault Synchron effect and bring him back, to have him back online. And these two are just, you know, our standard monster negates, as we used to. And with that being said, let's check out how we achieve all of this. Alright, so for the first combo, we're going to look at our super standard Chat and Rite line. And to play around Droll a bit better, we need a random card to discard. You could technically perform this combo with just those two, but then you play super hard into Droll. But we're gonna look at that in a bit. So we're going to start off with Rite of Adventure, giving ourselves the Adventure token and the Fateful Adventure. And then we want to activate Fateful Adventure to search the Wandering Griffin Rider. And then we discard our random card. Like I said, you could normal summon Chat first and add the Draco back right away, but that plays super hard into Droll. And we obviously don't want to do that. So here we're going to activate Griffin's effect to summon, and then we're going to normal summon Jet. And then we synchro those two off into Exile Synchro Stardust Dragon. You could activate the Fateful to search the Draco back here as Chainlink 2 to play around Ogre or Ghost Bell. So we go Chain 1 Exile Synchro Stardust Dragon, Chain 2 Fateful Adventure to add the Draco back, and summoning back the Chat Synchron. And here we're going to activate Exile Synchro Stardust Dragon's effect to summon out Stardust Dragon, and with the token and the Chat, we summon our Immune Speeder, so he's going to resolve no matter what, and he brings out our 4 tuners, which triggers the summon effect of Stardust Synchron to add the Stardust Illumination. Quick note here, if you think your opponent might hold back on an Ash Blossom, you could also chain block the Stardust Synchron with Fateful Adventure, but usually if they have Ash, they Ash the Fateful Surge. And with that out of the way, we're going to summon a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon to protect us from other monster hand traps for the rest of the combo, and also freeing up a zone that we're gonna need now. We activate Illumination to summon out the Stardust Trail. And what I'm gonna do next is going for Crimson Dragon, activate his effect and search the Rumble. Next we're gonna go with Trail and Assault Synchron into Stardust Charge Warrior, and we're gonna activate Stardust Charge Warrior's effect as Chainlink 1 and Trail's effect to summon a token as Chainlink 2. So we get a token and we draw a card. And then we're using the Stardust Illumination. We can target the token or the Stardust Charge Warrior, doesn't really matter. And we increase the level by 1. So we can go with 1 and 2 and 6 into a level 9. And that is Trishula. We are activating Trishula's effect to rip a card out of our opponent's hand. Then we go Revolution Synchron effect. We are sending the top card of our deck to the grave and bring him out as a level 1. Then we're gonna go into this pattern. And last but not least, we activate Jet effect to bring himself out. And then we go Stardust Synchron effect, tribute the Jet, bring him out, and we activate the trail as well. And with those two, we can go into Omega, use Omega's effect to rip another card. Then we go this pattern, bring back Omega, and we rip again. So I want to make a quick addition to the Rite and Jet line. I call this the Naked Speeders scenario. And it occurs when your opponent ashes your Fateful Adventure and you are stuck with just Rite and the token. That means you have to go for an unprotected speeder. And I want to show you what you can do when this happens. So we use those to go for speeder. And then we chain block the speeder by going chain link 1 speeder, chain link 2 Fateful Adventure, adding the Draco back. And speeder gets the tuners. We trigger Stardust Synchron here to add illumination. So from here we want to climb into Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. There are 2 ways we can achieve this. We could use Junk Speeder and Assault Synchron to go for Q-Belt, and then use Q-Belt and Jet to go for SD. Or we can use Jet and Junk Speeder to go for Stardust Charge Warrior, draw a card if you want, and then use the Charge Warrior and the Assault Synchron to climb into SD. In this scenario, if you really don't have access to anything else, it's kind of a bold move to go for the draw, because if you draw Trail, then your end result will be way worse. But let's just do it like that. We go for Stardust Charge, we draw a card, we climb into SD, using this effect to bring back Jet. Then we wanna use Illumination to summon out the Trail. And from here on you have different ways to go. What I like to do, I like to go for Excel Synchron, using Trail to get the token. Then we use Excel to send Stardust Synchron and make him level 9. Then we go for the effect of Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, summoning Stardust and Crimson Dragon. We can go Crimson Dragon Chainlink 1 and Assault Synchron Chainlink 2 to bring back SD and search for Rumble. Then we can go Crimson Dragon targeting the Excel Synchron, which is level 9, and that obviously gives us Trish. We can rip 1. Next we go for this pattern. Then we can go for another Crimson Dragon. Then we use Revolution Synchron to summon back. We banish Illumination to either increase or decrease the Stardust Synchron, depending what you want to go for. If you want something that can protect itself from card effect destruction or to play around Super Poly, you could go for Cheng Ying. In this case I will decrease to go for Crystal Wing. And then we want to use either Synchro Rumble to revive anything, or we use Jet Synchron's effect, discarding something and summoning him out. Doesn't really matter what we do. Let's say we use Jet. This is just so that we have, again, the material for Stardust Synchron and Trail, which allows us to go for Omega. We use Omega to rip 1, and then we use this pattern to bring back Omega. If you really want to have the double Omni Negate, you have to keep Omega on the field to bring back Assault Synchron during the opponent's standby phase, and then you can use the third rip during the opponent's main phase. Just as a reminder, your opponent already used a card to stop your Fateful Adventure, so he's already down one more card. So if you're not afraid of Super Poly, you can leave Omega on board. For combo number 2, we're going to look at a Chunk Servant line. I'm gonna show this combo with Diabellstar plus Fenrir, but it also works with one of those plus Synchro Overtake. So yeah, just to keep that in mind. It could also be Diabellstar plus any other card that is an extender or stays on the field, like those two even. So if you open Diabellstar plus Griffin Rider or Diabellstar plus Dracobag, this combo still works, you're still good to go. But yeah, for the sake of it, we're gonna look at a Diabellstar plus Fenrir. And again, to play better around Droll, we wanna hold back on the Fenrir search, and that means we have to use a random card that we discard for Diabellstar. So we start off this combo by special summoning Fenrir, and then we special Diabellstar by pitching one card. We go Diabellstar effect to set the original Sinful Spoils, which we're gonna activate right away. We're sending the Diabellstar and special summoning the Chat Synchron. If you really want to, you could use your Fenrir search before, just to stay up in card advantage, but then you are losing to Droll, because there is one search in this combo that you absolutely have to resolve, and it's the search for Chunk Servant. And we're gonna search for him by Synchro summoning Exo Synchro Stardust Dragon, and then we can chain block Ash, which is recommended here because, like I said, this search effect is crucial now. So we go chain link 1 Chat Synchron, chain link 2 Exo Synchro Stardust Dragon. We bring back Chat, and we add to our hand the Chunk Servant, which we're gonna normal summon. And then we can activate Exo Synchro Stardust Dragon's effect to summon Stardust Dragon. And with those two, we're going into our unaffected Chunk Speeder again. So he will resolve. And we get our 4 tuners. Stardust Synchron activates and grabs us the Illumination. And from here on, it's pretty similar to last time. We go for Crystal Wing. We activate Illumination to bring out the trail. We go into Crimson Dragon to search Rumble. We go for Stardust Charge Warrior, getting a token and a draw. Use Illumination, bump one of those levels up. Then we go Trish to Rip, and then we go a Rev effect to bring out. We synchro off into the spatter. And here we're going to use the Synchro Rumble to revive a tuner, so that we have a tribute material for Stardust Synchron again, which is going to trigger the trail. And then we synchro for Omega. We use Omega effect to rip one. The spatter brings Omega back, and we use Omega again to rip another card. Quick little note here. You could keep the Rumble, which would mean that you would have to tribute the spatter or Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon to get to those two. And then you go Assault Synchron to bring back one of those, but keep in mind, if you do it like that, you have to keep the second Omega Rip for your opponent's turn, so that you can return the Assault Synchron back to the graveyard, so that you have access to the double Omni Negate during your opponent's turn then. For combo number 3, we're going to look at what is, in my opinion, the best combo the deck has to offer. And it's Diabellstar plus Rite, and again a random discard to not play into Droll. And this plays like Rite first. We get the token and the Fateful Adventure. And here it's important to look at the rest of your hand to know what to do next. If you are dependent on Diabellstar resolving to get access to your Jet Synchron, you have to search first for Griffin Rider so that you can negate a Imperm or a Veiler or something like that, for example. If not, if you already have an extender like Synchro Overtake specifically, or maybe you hard opened a Jet Synchron, then you could go Diabellstar first and fish for that Imperm, fish for that Veiler to have that kind of interaction out of the way. But let's say we are dependent on Diabellstar resolving. So we go Fateful Adventure to search for the Griffin, and then we discard one. Next we summon the Griffin and trigger Fateful Adventure to equip Rite from the deck. Then we can go Diabellstar, sending the Draco back to summon. We go Diabellstar Chainlink 1, a Draco back Chainlink 2 to re-equip. And Diabellstar gets the original Sinful Spoils. Then we're gonna activate original Sinful Spoils, sending away Draco back to get out Jet. And then, as usual, we go into Extra Synchro Stardust Dragon. We bring back Jet. And the reason why this combo is the best one is exactly the setup. Your Extra Synchro Stardust Dragon is also protected from negation with the Griffin Rider. And when we perform the summon effect, the best way to Nibiru us would be this point. But with Griffin Rider online, we can take care of that as well. So we go Extra Synchro Stardust Dragon, bring out Stardust Dragon, and then we go into our unaffected Chunk Speeder. This time we are summoning Stardust Synchron, Revolution Synchron, and Assault Synchron. Stardust Synchron triggers and gets us to Illumination. Then we continue summoning Crystal Wing. Next we are activating the Illumination and bring out the Trail. Then we go for Crimson Dragon, activating his effect to search for Rumble. Then we go for the Stardust Charge Warrior, Chainlink 1 Charge Warrior, Chainlink 2 Trail to get the token, and we draw one. Let's go Revolution Synchron. He's level 1 now. Go Illumination again. Target one of those to increase. Synchro summon into Trish. Trish effect to rip 1. And then we can go Jet effect to summon out. Go Dispatter again. And then we are conveniently left with a Griffin Rider to tribute for Stardust Synchron, triggering the Trail. Go into Omega, using his effect to rip a card, Dispatter to bring him back, and then we activate to rip another one. Alright, combo number 4, a quick little bonus combo. This one doesn't come up too often, but I think it comes up often enough to talk about it, so that you are prepared if you find yourself with this scenario, with like Diabellstar and Stardust Synchron being your only playable cards. And it's not as strong as the other combos, but you still can make something work. So the combo goes like, we normal summon Stardust Synchron, using this effect to grab Illumination. Then we pitch one for Diabellstar, going Diabellstar effect and setting the original Sinful Spoils. We are using it right away to send the Stardust Synchron, and then we go for Jet. We synchro those off, into, you guessed it, Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. We revive Jet, and then we can go Illumination to special summon the Trail. Next we can use Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon to Synchro summon Stardust Dragon, and then go into Chunk Speeder. Chunk Speeder now resolves, of course. We get Stardust Synchron, Revolution Synchron, and Jet Synchron. We go into Bristol Wing there. Then for Crimson Dragon grabs the Rumble. We activate Rumble right away to bring back a Jet Synchron. And then we are going to tribute one of the Jet Synchrons for Stardust Synchron and Trail. We go for Stardust Charge Warrior. We draw 1 and get the level 1 token. Then we're going for Illumination. Again, bumping up one of those levels. Doesn't really matter. And go for Trish. Trish rips 1. Then we can go Revolution Synchron, milling 1 and bring him out. We go Dispatter. And here we're gonna have to use Dispatter right away to summon out the Trail. And use Trail and the left Stardust Synchron for a Omega. And then we can rip another card. So here we lose out on one hand rip, but other than that, we are still getting the exact same setup. Alright guys, let's talk about Shifter. So Shifter is obviously super strong against this deck because it takes away a lot of our engine, which is just unusable under Shifter, like the Diabellstar engine for example. Furthermore, it cuts us off the Chunk Servant line because we can not search for the Chunk Servant when Jet hits the grave, and we also cannot revive Jet from the graveyard with Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. So the whole unaffected speeder part is also cut out of the equation. That leaves us with only one card variation that allows us to accomplish at least something, and that is Jet, Rite, and a card to discard. This is very important. I will explain that during the combo. So we start off by activating Rite of Aramis here, getting the token and the Fateful Adventure, of course. And next we want to use the Fateful Adventure to search for Griffin and discarding the random card. Then we summon the Griffin. We are normal summoning the Jet. And with that, we have to go into Speeder right away, unfortunately. But that's why we kept the Fateful Search, because it allows us to go at least Chainlink 1 Speeder, Chainlink 2 Fateful, to protect the Speeder from Ash Blossom. So we get the Draco back, and then the Tuners. Of course, Stardust activates and grabs us the Illumination, very important. And then we proceed by summoning Crystal Wing. Next we go into Stardust Dragon, which allows us to use Illumination to summon the Trail. Next we go into Dispatter, and then for the last step we are going for Omega, which allows us to use its effect, bring it back with Dispatter, and use its effect again to rip 2 cards out of the opponent's hand, which is functionally 3 because he already used Shifter. So we basically accomplish the same minus the Omni Negate. Alright, let's talk about Droll next. So compared to Shifter, playing under Droll is a bit more complicated because you have to take your whole hand into account. If you get shifted, as we saw previously, there's only one card combination that works. So yeah, but for Droll, the story is a bit more complicated. So I would say we approach it like this. I will show you different examples, having various amounts of searches in my hand, and we check out what we can do. So for our first hand, I would say we check out Enchantress and Wanted. You can approach this in different ways. You could either activate Wanted during draw phase, or you Enchantress first, and then if your opponent activates Droll on the resolution, you can chain Wanted to add the Black Witch. It really depends on what the rest of your hand looks like. So, for example, if you have talents, I would go for Water Enchantress Search first, because then you could play around an Imperm or a Veiler or something like that. So let's say we start with a Water Enchantress, but in that scenario we would need a card to send for Diabellstar. So we use Water Enchantress, get Rite, and let's say our opponent rolls now. We chain Wanted to get a Black Witch. We continue by going for Rite, placing the Fateful Adventure in our spell and trap zone. And then we can discard the random card to go for Diabellstar, and then we can go Diabellstar chain 1, Fateful Adventure chain 2. Although we cannot add the Draco back from the hand, we can still equip it, and that gives us free material to send for the original Sinful Spoils. And then we're gonna go and activate it, sending the Draco back to bring out a Jet. And then you can decide if you go for Speeder right away. That could be a possibility if you open talents, because one thing we tend to struggle under Droll is our non-tuner access, because we cannot search for Stardust Illumination, which cuts us off of Trail, and Trail by itself can be 3 tuners. You get Trail Summon off of Illumination, you get the effect for the token, and you can revive her by tributing something. That's what the issue is with Droll. And so if you open talents, then fine, you could go for Speeder right here, knowing that they cannot stop it. If you are not so sure, and for this example I would say we play it safe, we go for Excel first, revive the Jet, then we use Excel effect, summoning out Stardust Synchron, and then Speeder. We're using Speeder effect to get the tuners, and then it kind of depends on what you want to go for. You have 2 possibilities there. You could either go Omega here and then Dispatter here and just hand rip for 2, or we could set up Dispatter and a double Omni Negate with a line I will show you now. We go for Q-Belt and then for Dispatter, and then we can use those 2 for Crimson Dragon. But that's unfortunately it. So if you have to burn your first search for Rite, your possibilities are pretty limited. So for the second example, what if we already opened the Rite? That saves us a search, so let's check out what we can do with it. We start by activating Rite, getting the token and the Fateful. So we use Fateful to grab the Griffin and discard a card. Let's say our opponent rolls now. We can chain Wanted and even the Griffin if you want. We summon the Griffin and searching for Diabellstar. Fateful will trigger to equip from deck. And then we use Diabellstar, sending the Draco back to summon her. We go chain 1 Diabellstar, chain 2 Draco back. We re-equip and we get the original Sinful Spoils. And as you can see, this is already better than before. We have more tools available. Our Diabellstar can be protected by Griffin, or we can even save ourselves from a Nibbed at this point. So we continue by using Fateful to send Draco back, get out the Jet. We Synchro summon those 2 off into the Exo Synchro Stardust Dragon, reviving the Jet. And then we can use its effect to get a Stardust Dragon and a unaffected Speeder, giving us Stardust Synchron, Revolution Synchron, and Assault Synchron. We can then go for Crystal Wing. Next we can use a Revolution Synchron to get a level 1 tuner back on the field, which allows us to go for Omega. Then we can rip 1. And then we could go for Dispatter, bringing Omega back. And then you could either rip 1 more or you could go for Crimson to again get the double Omni Negate. For example number 3, we could open Diabellstar and Rite, or Wanted and Rite. At this point, those two are interchangeable. And then, if you open one of these 3, Droll doesn't matter at all. Like they just ripping themselves for an additional card at this point. Because if you open Griffin, you don't have to use your Fateful Search that early, thus not playing into Droll. And if you open Illumination, you don't need Stardust Synchron to search it, obviously. And Trail works just fine because this 2-card combo doesn't need a normal summon. So yeah, any of these plus our best 2-card combo pulverizes Droll. And let's check out how we do it. So let's say we open those 2 and the Griffin. Activating Rite, getting the token and the Fateful. We then summon Griffin. You could hold back on the Draco back equip for later. Maybe you want to chain block Exosynchro Stardust Dragon because you know your opponent is on Ghost Ogre, for example. Or to chain block Witch. That's also possible. If you like to do so, you can. Let's say I just use it. We go Diabellstar, go chain 1 Diabellstar, chain 2 Draco back to re-equip. We get original. So far so good. No search performed yet. We activate original to send the Draco back and summon Jet Synchron from the deck. Then we go for Exosynchro Stardust Dragon. We are using this effect to revive the Jet. And then we can go for Excel's effect to summon Stardust Dragon and unaffected Speeder, which gets us to Stardust Synchron, Revolution Synchron and Assault Synchron. And now we will perform our first search. We go Stardust Synchron effect to add Illumination. And if our opponent draws here, then that's completely fine, because at this point you might recognize that we just can perform our normal combo. We can use Illumination here to summon Trail. We still go for charge here, obviously not getting the draw, but who cares? We go for Crimson Dragon, then we use Revolution Synchron and Illumination to increase the token or the Stardust Charge Warrior, which allows us to summon Trish, rip a card. Then we can discard 1 card that's left in our hand for Jet. Go for Dispatter. And then last but not least, we can tribute the Griffin to go for Stardust Synchron and for the Trail. Getting us to Omega, and then we can rip 1 more, use Dispatter to bring him back and rip again. In this case, our opponent starts his turn with 2 cards in his hand. Because in addition to the triple rip, he also discarded the Droll, which means he's on 1 card. On his turn he draws another one, that's 2. And then he faces this. Okay, let's talk about Nibiru next. So this is the setup we're looking at. This is usually the first point during the combo where Nibiru is live, because the revive of Jet should be the 5th summon, if I'm correct. And there are different ways our opponent can approach this, and I want to walk you through that a bit. So, possibility number 1, our opponent decides to drop the rock here, which of course accomplishes absolutely nothing, because we can just chain the Exosynchro, getting a Stardust Dragon, and then we get a Speeder right away. At this point, Nibbed resolves. He tributes nothing because those guys are unaffected. And then on a new chain, we get our tuners. And from here on, you just follow through the usual combo line. With the addition that your opponent got rid of an additional card of his hand. So obviously that's the worst possible way to nip this deck. So the second way our opponent could use Nibiru during our combo is, and this is actually the best way to use him, when we activate Axel's effect to summon. If your opponent chains the rock there, then we're in trouble. We are losing the jet and the token and get a nip token instead. And Axel still resolves as much as possible, which allows us to get the Stardust at least. So what we're going to do next is we are using Jet's effect Engrave, which allows us to go into Crimson Dragon with the Nib token. We use Crimson Dragon's effect to get a Synchro Rumble, and then we can use Crimson Dragon's effect targeting the Stardust Dragon to get at least a Crystal Wing out. So that's exactly the reason why this is the best point to nib us. And the third possibility is if you use XL to get out Stardust Dragon and Speeder, you activate Speeder to get out the tuners. Then you get Stardust's trigger to get out Illumination, and then your opponent nibs, getting rid of all your tuners and giving you a nib token instead. Which of course also doesn't really accomplish anything, because now we can use Illumination to bring out Trail. We can go Jet to summon out, and then we go into XL Synchron using Trail's effect for the token, XL effect to dump a Stardust Synchron from the deck and increasing its level by 4, so it's level 9. And then we want to use the Revolution Synchron, summon him out by milling 1 from the deck and making him level 1. Then we go into Crimson Dragon, using his effect to get the Rumble out, and then we use a summon effect. We target the XL Synchron, which is level 9, and that gives us Trish to rip a card out of the opponent's hand. Next we go into the Spatter. And then we want to use Stardust Synchron to tribute Trish and also getting Trail. We use those to summon Omega. We use his effect. We go to Spatter, get Omega, and use his effect again. Then we can go Rumble to summon out the second Stardust. And then we go into Crimson Dragon once more. Alright, and for a nice little bonus, I want to talk about a scenario that's happened to me at one of the last tournaments I played with the deck. I was going first in a game 3. I had Black Witch and Rite. I played up until this point. I just summoned XL Synchro Stardust Dragon, declared his effect to bring back Jet, and my opponent decided to chain Infinite Impermanence to negate XL Synchro Stardust Dragon. The question is it better to let the Imperm resolve and just bring back Jet with his own effect? Or is it better to negate the Imperm with Griffin Rider? Alright, I tell you what I did. And I really should have thought about this for a bit longer. I decided to just say, you know what, fine, negate my XL Synchro Stardust Dragon, I bring back Jet with his own effect. So I did. I pitched a card to bring back Jet, and my opponent decided to drop the rock on me. So I lost all my stuff and was left with a Nib token. And as you can see, I don't have a Jet Engrave to bring back. And that ended up costing me the game. So what I want to do is I want to dissect this scenario in detail to fully explain why it is better to negate the imperm with Griffin Rider, not only if he has a nib, but this also applies for the case that he might have another targeting like negation, like Veiler or Mourner, for example. Let's say he has two targeting negations. He negates Excel, and you say fine. You discard for Jet. What are you gonna do? You can't use Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon effect now to summon. So the only way is to go into Speeder like this. And you go Speeder effect, and they go boom, Veiler or Mourner or another imperm. And then you are left with nothing again. What we should do in this scenario is he goes imperm, negates Excel, we go Griffin, and then he gets to choose. Does he want to use his Veiler to negate Griffin? Then fine, both of these are negated. You go Jet effect, pitch, go Speeder. The odds that he has an Ash still or even a third targeting negation aren't zero, but they are pretty low. So with that, your Speeder can resolve, basically. Or the Griffin resolves, you shuffle it back, negate the targeting negation, Jet comes back, and then you can go Excel into Stardust into Protected Speeder. And that way, the second targeting negation doesn't matter as well. Alright guys, so that sums it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. And as always, feel free to drop your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. I'm looking forward to having a discussion with you guys down in the comment section. And with that being said, see you in the next one.